All right, this is Dr. Fraser Horn with Sports Vision Pros. I'm here with Dr. Josh Watt, who is an optometrist in Colorado Springs. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your practice?
Yeah, so I have a referral-based specialty practice that does vision therapy and sports vision stuff in Colorado Springs. Office there, office up in Castle Pines, so a little bit north of that office as well. So
that's great. So what got you into sports vision?
Yeah, so originally, the first time I remember seeing sports vision, I was probably a sophomore in high school. And I went to a batting camp, and I saw these weird guys who were standing in a batting cage without any bats, and they were tracking the tennis ball coming through. And as they tracked the tennis ball come through, it was getting shot out of a pitching machine. And they'd call out a black 7, a red 4, and I kind of stood there looking at them like, what are they doing in a batting cage without a bat? And then all of a sudden I realized, they're tracking these and they're calling these numbers out on these tennis balls as they'd come in. And it's, over the course of a couple of weeks throughout the camp that I was there, all of a sudden these guys were coming out and, starting at, 50 miles an hour, and all of a sudden by the end they were tracking these tennis balls, reading off these numbers at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour as they're coming out of the pitching machine. And I'm going, that's neat. Yeah. And so that didn't dawn on me until much later on that that's exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
That they were training their visual system to go through it. And so when I decided to go to optometry school, that just kind of clicked for me and said, that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, a lot of that training was done with U.S. women's softball back in the day, and it's obviously taken off. So now that you know what you know now after optometry school and in your practice, can you break down for the viewers, what were they training? What were some of the visual skills that they were training within that?
Yeah, they were training the ability to kind of slow down the game, to be able to pick up the contrast, be able to pick up dynamic vision and pick up some of those visual skills at a very rapid pace. And so the further that they could push that, the better they were able to kind of get and be able to recognize those skills quicker.
Yeah.
It's when it comes to pitch recognition, it's all about how quick you can respond to it and being able to see the laces on the ball as it's going through. If you can pick up numbers and the color as that's coming through, you're training that system.
Yeah, that's great. So when you're looking at all those different visual skills, how do you assess those in your practice?
It's just a matter of taking the time, going down and breaking down some of the needs for that individual sport, for the individual position within the sport. What are they really looking at? The visual skills for a football player are different from that of a baseball player. In football, different from a quarterback than a running back or wide receiver. And so it's about kind of breaking down into each of the demands for each of the sports. And so, looking at those, sports is dynamic. And so it's looking at a lot of those dynamic skills, getting them moving around, seeing how they respond to changing visual stimulation situations, which is exactly what sports are.
Yeah. So that's a great point for all of our colleagues, is the fact of you have to understand the sport. It doesn't mean you have to play it. You have to understand that sport, so that way we're assessing what is relevant to that sport, and then making sure that we look at where they at, where should they be, and figure out ways to incorporate training. And so Dr. Watt brought up making it dynamic. So that's one of the things we'll do is we'll start off with isolation, and then we'll load on different ways to train, and then just make it more difficult, more challenging in a way.
Yeah.